Waiting, waiting. And we're live. Dave, Ron, Brian,
Woohoo.
gentlemen, how you doing?
Doing awesome.
Good.
Doing awesome?
Doing awesome.
Glad to hear it. So I want to start this off by asking Dave. Ron's got to take a picture there. I want to ask Dave. So you called me a couple weeks ago with the idea to do this talk. And when you did that, you kind of described that we wanted to like tell the story of what you guys have going on. So maybe we could just start at the very beginning with all of this. You guys are the OG members of Team Haro, am I correct?
Yeah.
Somewhat. We were.
You were. And I guess maybe a more proper way to start would be to introduce ourselves to each other because I've never met either of Ron or Brian. So good to meet you guys.
Very nice to meet you.
Thank you. You guys doing all right?
We are. We're chilling.
Oh, good.
Good. So there's this thing you guys have going on for Back for More in 2024, and what is that exactly?
Well, we've been doing shows for about 40 years, and we decided it's time to go back and put together
Do some more shows.
do some more shows. Yeah, I mean, it's like second nature to us, I feel like, because we did it even from the get-go. Something about the chemistry that the three of us had. I think Ron brought a lot of his show knowledge from doing two hip shows with Rich way back in the, I guess, 83 is when you started. What was the first show?
Something like that.
Yeah, like 83. So he had a lot of the format, but we all just clicked like right out of the gate. So this weekend is a special weekend at Nourie's, and we're calling it the first rehearsal because we've never rehearsed. Honestly, we would do a show and we would just like go out and ride, and Ron had some specifics like, let's start here with ground. After we do ground, we're going to do ramps, and then we're going to do last trick. That was pretty much our format for the most part. But every time we finished the show, when we'd be driving or having dinner together, we would just talk about it and say, well, that worked awesome, or how about we try this? And it just, over the years, it just kind of built. So we've done a whole variety of different things that we've added and taken away things, and it's just kind of time to bring it back because I feel like it's a good time to share what we still love to do. And the rehearsal went pretty well. I only lost the keys 3 times, so I think that's a pretty good sign.
Yeah.
The band
being the
keys.
tour mom, you slacked a little bit, but you seem to at least get us where we need to go.
That's funny. So is there any kind of like schedule or anything already planned for this tour?
We don't have dates yet,
Okay.
but probably in the next, I would say, month to 2 months, we'll have some actual dates. We do have cities that we're looking at: New York, another one probably on the East Coast, Cologne, Germany, and then somewhere in the UK. We're not sure exactly whether that'll be London or somewhere thereabouts in the UK. So those are the 4 that we want to start with.
Nice. That's awesome. So what is everybody going to be doing at these shows? Are you doing flat? Who's doing what?
I can't hear anything.
Hold on, there's a plane
flying over.
There's a plane flying over, so we can barely hear you right now.
I can hear the plane.
David Flatland. Me and Ron both do ramps.
Got it.
And
So
I'm hoping,
And a little flat.
and a little flatland.
And then Kevin. I'm going with Kevin. The
so
next question is, what do we do at the shows?
we got a little connection issue going
Yeah,
on there.
back in the day, Brant, we all used to ride a little bit of everything. So I'm hoping that these guys will do a little bit of flatland, and I might do a little bit of ramp ride.
Nice.
Maybe
So
a Vanderbilt drop in.
please, please do that. So is
Please.
yeah, is there anything else about the shows that you guys have going on that you'd want to like make sure people would hear first as part of this conversation?
Not really. It's just
Just doing our show. We have some doubles on the end.
Yeah. So we've all been riding throughout the years, and we all still ride. So shows were something that were huge back in the day. They're not as big now. It's more like these jams at skate parks. But shows were something that we all grew up doing, and we end up loving. And we have done 3 to 5 shows in the last few years that are super fun. A lot of them have been in Germany, just because the venue's there, and it's been a lot of fun. So we just kind of want to extend on that, and going in a van and a quarter pipe on a trip to go to shows. A lot of people haven't experienced it, but it kicks ass. It's super fun. Being on the road is a blast. Showing up to a shop where there's people there and you get to hang out and barbecue and ride. And
this is
whatever.
Like before internet.
Yeah, it was definitely before internet, but so we're just looking to do that again. We're looking to go have fun and have the experience all over again and share it.
Brant, we had very few shows that were like arena type of shows, which we, obviously you see out there nowadays. It's always been a very grassroots, much more of a closer crowd that's right there by us. I mean, that's kind of what I think we feed off of. It's just like a really enthusiastic crowd that's right there, literally having to move out of the way as Brian and Ron do a big old double air and almost right off the ramp or whatever. So that's kind of, I think, the format we want to continue.
Some of our best shows were for like 5 people.
Yeah, like that one in Seattle.
Yeah.
Federal Way,
Federal
Seattle.
Way, where I went to elementary school.
Yeah. We show up to this is a Haro show, probably 85, 86, and there's literally like 5 or 6 kids. Now they were diehard fans, they all have their bikes and they're just like eager to see the show. And we had to put on the best show ever because there's 5 kids that showed up, right? And they were into it. They were totally into it.
That's awesome.
Our announcer was like, "You guys make some noise."
And it was like,
everyone got a sticker, everyone got a shirt.
It's awesome. So we take it back 40 years ago, 1984. Was that the first tour? Am I correct in that?
40 years?
Yeah, so 40 years ago, we all signed on Haro.
Became a team, yeah.
Became a team. The first show, we did some shows here and there, the convention center. I remember doing one in LA. But 85 was the first summer tour that we went on together. And then Brian and Ron also did a European tour in 85. That was just the 2 of them. So yeah, it's been 40 years. And like Brian was saying, we're all still riding. I mean, it's just part of our life. We just aren't as active on the show front. But I think there's some people out there that want to see it. So that's why we want to put this together.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's no denying that it feels like right now there are more dudes that are in their 30s through 50s that are getting back into BMX than ever before. And sometimes I feel like there's more of those guys getting into it or back into it than there are kids getting into it.
And I've been doing a lot on my social media front, and I say almost weekly I get a rider that's in their, I would say 40 plus, not so much the 30-year-olds, but 40 plus that said, "Okay, Dave, I've been watching some of your videos. I want to get back into it." I'm trying to give them a more fundamental, real basic flatland tricks because flatland is just so crazy. The difficulty is just really off the charts. So it's intimidating to get back into it. So I'm trying to give them a little bit of a stepping stone, so to speak. And like I said, weekly I get riders and saying, "Okay, I'm going to buy a bike. I'm going to start riding. I might show up at a contest, might create a little jam session, what have you." So it's great that we're seeing that.
Yeah, and I think something like what you guys have planned will only create more of that, because even right now, like there's somebody in the chat saying, "I've got my signed 87 tour shirt with these guys on it. I'm bringing it out for 2024 signatures."
Nice. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
So you're going to have more of that even. And I think, Dave, when we were on the phone talking about this, part of what made you want to do it was just the fact that I am like apologetic, but unashamed at the fact that I don't know anything about stuff like this until I hear about it. And I haven't learned about you guys and what you did with these shows and the tours or anything. And I think it'd be really fun to kind of take it all the way back and learn about how stuff actually started with all of this.
Yeah, it's funny because, as I said, it's before even the internet.
Yeah.
So the only thing kids had that were riders was a magazine every month, or shows, or occasional contests. Sometimes there were local scene contests that would happen, but as far as the pros on that, they would only have the magazines and a tour show. Kids would travel from all over to go to a tour show, and you know the contests back then were nothing like now. Like absolutely nothing like now, where the contests were the time where all riders came together. It's before internet. All riders came together, and back then BMX was a thing where it evolved on its own in each area because it was isolated, and the only thing that tied together was the magazines. So okay, you learn magazines, you see how to here or there, but like it would evolve on its own based on the styles of the area, and then contests were where all the guys would come together, and it was just you can't even describe how it was. It was just I can never describe it to where you would understand, but it's just like it's just like all the riders is just the energy was just off the charts because and what was cool about it was there was no style. It was like everybody had their own styles from all over that evolved in their areas, and they all came together, and no one judged anyone. It was like you rode, so you're cool, and that's all that mattered. And it's just like so the contests were just like and then it's like you know you're young kids, you're away from your parents or whatever, and just like everybody's just going crazy like just going crazy, and it's all about BMX and whatever else happened.
The ramps were obviously different. There wasn't a skate park in every corner like there is now.
Yeah.
So we were riding 8-foot quarter pipes, and there was, you know, drawings and you know, how-tos in the magazines, how to build ramps and whatnot. So there was ramps starting to pop up, and you know, bike shops, cool bike shops were building ramps in the back of the bike shops, but everybody was pretty much riding quarter pipes and kick turn ramps.
What they made.
Yeah, and it was kind of like every area had different, you know, setups. You know, there's dirt jumps, obviously, those have been around forever. But it was very beginning of there was no half pipes, there was no giant bowls. It was just pretty much quarter pipes. And so to learn tricks and to, you know, do things at shows that we've learned, they've never seen it, or they've seen pictures of it in the magazine. But you know, it spread pretty quickly, and I'm glad that we evolved in ramps and bowls and things that we have, because it was definitely old school riding an 8-foot quarter pipe and traveling around in it. But it's what we had, and we loved it. I mean, it's all we knew.
Yeah, there wasn't even half pipes back then.
No,
If we saw a half pipe on tour, it was like unbelievable. Like the rare times that when we were in Sweden, we saw that huge half pipe that had 4 feet of vert and no decks.
Yeah, 18 feet tall.
Yeah, it's so rare. But I think one thing that I could kind of help paint the picture is that, like going back to the format that Ron brought. So we would just show up, set up the ramp. All the kids would come from all over. They do basically a road trip to come to see a Haro show. So if we're in Ohio, it was, you know, all over the Midwest, people would come to see the show. And we would warm up, but our warm up consisted of like me just doing a little bit of balance tricks, just rolling around.
Not to give away the tricks.
Not to give anything away, because now it's difficult to do that with YouTube and, you know, everything's on social media.
Yeah.
That element's not there. So Brent, you have to picture these magazines and an occasional video that would come out. People would see that, but seeing it live. And what Ron did, which was, I think, brilliant, he was like really strict about that. As strict as Ron can get, which is not very strict, but he's like, yeah, don't do a big 10-foot air, Brian, because we're going to do that element of surprise. And I used to stop watching Brian's 10-foot air, respectfully, and I would watch the crowd, because the kids would just be like jumping up and down screaming, and the parents were like, oh, like freaking out, because they had no idea what was in store for them. So I think that kind of sets that picture of how we just really came in to surprise.
And we had our disco suits on. We wore leathers and jerseys and full face helmets. And, it's kind of like, the dudes right out of the magazine or in your parking lot. And it was fun. And we're all just kids that love bikes. I mean, we're no different than everybody else out there. We love to ride, but we do get stoked when people come out and ride with us and hang out. And,
I mean, always after the show, you'd meet the local riders and you'd go ride where they rode, or you
go check out their ramp, and
their
setup,
and people have us over for dinner, or staying at their house or whatever.
And it would typically be like, hey, we got this jump, and it's like 20 minutes away, and like 2 hours later, we're like trying to, okay, 20 minutes. But, they always wanted to show off, like lake jumping. We do some lake jumping.
We didn't realize what we were doing, but each shop that we went to on our first time, we had a lot of those return shops that would book the show for the next. Sometimes they'd book it that day. We'd do the show, they'd book it like for next year. And it only got better and better because now we know people. We all didn't have phones. We weren't like, we weren't communicating, but we would see all the same people, and it got better and better and better. And they know what we like. We know what they like, and it just after 4 or 5 years going to a lot of the same shops, it was pretty badass. It was super fun.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Coma, Ron.
So I think there could still be a similar element of people coming out from far away to see what you guys are doing. And what I think will be really cool about it is that you'll have the guys who remember the original shows, and then their kids are gonna be with them. And oh, I lost your video, but can you hear me?
Yeah. Hang on 1 second.
Oops. Forgive Dave. It's Dave's phone they're working with. Bear with us here. Old men of technology, right? Oh no. What I was gonna say, and I'll repeat it when they come back, is just that they're gonna have the guys who remember the shows, like you guys in the chat, and your kids, and it's gonna create a whole nother element of excitement that my connection's not too weak. It's gonna create a whole nother element of excitement similar to what it was before. Oh, is he calling me? Oh, do we get it? We're back.
Sorry. I didn't have it on airplane mode, and Mike Daly called, one of the plywood hoods.
Oh, oops. Dang it.
Turn on the picture?
Yeah.
Okay, so can you hear me? Are we all good?
Yeah, we're all good.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I was saying was that the guys who remember the shows originally are going to have their kids there, and I think these kids will, I mean, obviously they'll be exposed to the internet, but they're still kids, and they're going to see what you guys are doing, and I think it's going to create a similar element of excitement.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, also seeing the dad stoked. I mean, it's good for both. It's good for both halves. I mean, there's nothing funner than, riding with the kids. And I still totally enjoy it. And I know a lot of people that, can't wait for that time till their kids roll up to go ride. It's a blast. So I think that part is awesome. I agree.
Absolutely. So let's go back even further. I'd love to hear how each of you guys got involved with Team Haro initially.
So who signed for Ron?
Ron, yeah, I guess you were first.
Well, I was in NorCal.
Dave, you're too popular.
You can just deny him.
I know, but we tried.
Yes.
We tried tonight. Sorry,
Brant.
it's Mike Daly, and he.
Don't do it.
Swipe it away.
Accept.
I'll text Mike Daly.
Yeah, text him, tell him. It doesn't swipe away.
Oh, can you?
Sent to voicemail.
Ah, we're back.
There. Mike's gonna. Ron's gonna text Mike. He was trying to meet up with us this morning. So sorry about that, Brent.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Then
Sure, go crazy.
I was a skate park rider, So I rode the Pipeline Skate Park, which was in my town. It was a huge skate park, big hills, big full pipe, and on the West Coast or in California, there was a couple of skate parks, but they are few and far between. There wasn't many across the country. There was mostly a handful of them in California, and so I had a little bit of I did have a skate park to ride, and I was pretty stoked, but I got kind of found as just doing contests and doing well in contests as an amateur, and then I won the amateur title, and Haro approached me and asked me if I would ride for them pro, and I was like, well, I'm not ready to turn pro. I was only 16 years old, but that's kind of how I got started, and I did sign with them, and they did make me turn pro. And
they made you turn pro?
Well, yeah, kind of.
Really? I didn't hear that part of the story.
And then Ron had just signed with them, so now me and Ron are teammates, and we don't really know each other. But go ahead on your end.
Well, Brian got started riding Pipeline, which is like there's only a couple of skate parks in the world,
right?
And Pipeline's one of them, and it's like him and Mike D cut their teeth riding this awesome park and killing it.
Yeah, I was just lucky to be born and grew up in the area I grew up. I think about that all the time. That was the most amazing place to have a childhood.
Yeah, but I was in NorCal, and there were no parks or anything like that. There was a couple there was one in South Bay I heard about, but I never rode it before.
Yeah, they started dying out by the time we were riding, actually. They were early 70s to late 70s and insurance problems. And they were just like, surfing on concrete, and all the surfers, and they're obviously for skating, but they started dying out pretty quickly. There's only a few that survived into the mid 80s.
Yeah. So I was in NorCal, and we were building ramps and stuff like that, and started doing shows, freestyle shows at fairs and things like that when no one knew anything about BMX anywhere. And I was in high school, and I was like, it was me and my friend in high school. We were the only riders anywhere near us, and we go to the Golden Gate Park every Sunday. We didn't go every Sunday, but on Sundays was where people would gather from all around the bay, and we would go there sometimes. But and that was maybe half hour away from us, and we didn't drive back then, so we're the only riders anywhere. And then we had a bike shop sponsor for racing. Not that we were good racers. I don't know how we had that, but we had a bike shop sponsor for racing, and then they got us our first show at a local fair, and we're like, we better build a quarter pipe. So we built a quarter pipe a month before our first show,
and learned how to ride it.
Learned how to ride it.
And wasn't it like just to vert? Didn't even have vert.
It was, well, ramps back then were 6 feet wide and 6 feet tall,
or 4 feet wide. It was just a piece of plywood.
Yeah, I don't know. It's 4 or 6.
Usually we tried to cut it. Yeah, we tried to make them. If you were really, badass, you'd do 2 pieces of plywood.
They're skinny, regardless. So we're riding this quarter pipe, and in our first show, and then that show, every show led to more. No one had never seen freestyle before, nothing like it, and we started doing shows at fairs, and that's how I got my show experience, kind of. And more to that, like, our show wouldn't be just going out and riding, and it tears me up to see bad shows, like guys that don't know anything about. You got to know about how a show works. You got to know this, and people that don't know, it just tears me up because they're just it's almost an insult, because it's like you're losing the attention of the audience, and you got to set it up a certain way. It's kind of like the same way a book's written or a movie or something like that. It's set up a certain way to keep your attention. Yeah. And then there's so much about it. Like, there's the intro, there's the meat, there's the the false ending and then the ending, and it's just
One more time.
yeah. It's just
last trick.
It's just like a book or a movie
Yeah.
or something like that, and you got to do it a certain way, and that was part of our thing. And what was really close, that was my history, was doing shows, and then me, Brian, Dave all worked together to make it better. And like Dave would say, we'd be driving away from a show going, okay, and the thing what would happen is I'd work so hard. Every year we'd have a different announcer or MC, and the MC, that's as important as the writing, like how it's set up and how the MC does it and how he does the show is just as important as the writing, because that's what the audience hears as much as they see. And so we'd work with the MC every year, and then every year we'd deal with MCs where we earned our way to it, like, you know, broken bones and bloody shins for life, and we earned our spot to be there doing shows, so it was just natural for us. But every year we get an MC, and then all of a sudden they go on tour, and then they're stars and they're signing autographs at every show, and then we'd have to deal with them because they didn't earn it to get there. They just all of a sudden were thrown into it. And so we would work with the MCs, and you know, you have to work it. You know, this is how you say this, or this is what you do, and there's so much to it to make it be a good show that's entertaining and keeps the attention of someone, even if they're not a rider. Then that's the important thing, is to make it an entertaining thing. And what was cool about us is that me, Brian, Dave would all work together to, you know, say what things we could do better, or, you know, how we could do this or that, and that's why it was, you know, almost magical for us. And then on top of that, you know, we did shows 3 to 6 months a year for 6 years in a row, us three. And, you know, just the experiences and beyond just the riding part, just, you know, touring the world, you know, getting paid lots of money, being famous, and doing shows, doing what we love with your friends. You know, how does it get better than that?
Absolutely.
Oh, great, Dave. Another call.
What did I do last time?
You swiped up.
No, I said,
Oh, there you go.
I'm sorry, Brant.
You're okay.
Can I put it on airplane mode while we're on?
Put it on Do Not Disturb.
Okay,
That's everything.
we're probably good now. We'll see. So what about when you did Haro also make?
Oh
you
yeah,
go pro?
yeah. So we're doing shows at NorCal, and then you know, I started getting us co-sponsors. We had like Oakley back before their sunglasses.
Right.
Oakley grips, Oakley threes. Oakley, what else did we have? We had Skyway as a co-sponsor. We had someone else, I don't remember. But then we got sponsored by GT Bikes, wanted to start making freestyle bikes. And we got sponsored by GT. Wow. And got free bikes, which was insane. Like, they flew us down to LA, and we got free bikes, and so I rode for GT. It was, you know, my first tour was 84 for GT, and then Haro saw me at one of the contests, and then made me an offer to ride for them, and then I was negotiating between both of them, trying to get the best deal, and then I ended up choosing Haro because it was more than just riding, because I was always into managing and stuff like that. And they said, well, you can be a team manager also and book the tours, and I was into that, and so that was more for me than just riding, and so I jumped ship from GT and started riding for Haro.
Wow, what a backstory on that. It sounds like you were really intentional about the way you guys did the shows. Was that mostly you, Ron, or was it everybody?
Yeah, I mean, it started with me because that was my history, and that's what I was. You know, the two-hip trick team. We were doing shows. You know, as soon as after our first show, just started leading to shows every weekend, and we were in high school. Actually, me and Rich Avella were working at Round Table Pizza
I love round table.
And we quit our jobs at round table. We're in high school. We're seniors. We quit our jobs at round table to be doing shows. So we're doing shows, and it's like, we're just kids. We had a custom made trailer to put the ramps on that I put a hitch on the back of my Toyota Celica, and we're
Toyota Celica.
yeah,
That's awesome.
we're driving down the road with a quarter pipe and a kick turn ramp.
And like ramps, bike strapped on the car or something?
No, we'd fit the bikes in the back of the car. It was a hatchback thing.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
But we're doing shows. We're getting paid. We quit our roundtable jobs to do shows.
We should get them as a sponsor, though. Vinny, can you work on that? Get them a round table? That would be awesome.
Previous employee.
I think by '85, when we went on tour together, our show evolved like in the first month or so.
Yeah.
And I would say probably within a couple months of our very first tour, or probably right around a month, we were pretty dialed. And I think tricks changed, a different double routines changed. Our format was rock solid.
Yeah.
And it obviously was working. '85 was a big year. We had a lot of success and a lot of great shows. And we would talk, like Ron said and Dave said, we would talk about our show every day, and we would fix whatever needed to be fixed. And it became, it wasn't quite a job. It became a little bit more than just riding.
For sure.
It was, you're doing 2 shows a day. You don't wake up every single day and like, oh man, it's gonna be rad to do 2 shows today. But we had it so dialed, and it was so fun, and the whole day was, it ruled. I mean, there wasn't a time where I was bummed I did a show. I was bummed I felt like I didn't want to do a show, and then it turned out awesome every time. So
I think that Ron brought it. He brought the ideas, but Brian and I both were on the same page, right out of the gate.
Yeah, we were working together.
It was super easy. We never were like, wow, no, do that.
What's funny is we didn't do shows for years, and then we did home Germany shows
Germany
a couple of years, and we hadn't done a show in probably 10 years or something.
Yeah.
And then we all flown out to Germany, and we didn't talk about the show once. And Kevin Martin already knew how everything goes, and we didn't talk about one thing once. We just went and did the show.
The only thing about was convincing Brian to do the Aero over 540, which I'm glad you did. But I remember you were on the wedge ramp, and I could say, I knew word for word what you were saying. You said something like, "Come on, just go as high. Just go as high as you can." And you were like, I'm not sure if I'm going to pull it off.
Yeah, well, we're riding this ramp. Oh, and it was crazy weather too.
It had rained earlier, so it did dry out, but we had to move a little bit later.
Yeah, and we're riding this happy ramp, and the show is not going so good. Like, I crashed a bunch of times. I couldn't do tricks. And then the last trick was the air over 540, and as high as I could in a skinny little ramp. And Brian did 5, and his front was like inches from hitting me in the air, and then we pulled it, and it was like, that was all we needed to do.
Yeah.
Oh man, when was the last time you guys did one of those?
So we did it in 2009. We did it in 2000. When did we come here?
2012, 2010 here.
And then we did 12 back in Germany, and then 17 or 18. 17 we went back to Cologne, Germany for the Worlds and did another show, except for this time Ron was hurt and Hoffman filled in, so we did a show. And that actually was a pretty good area. It was like 2 quarter pipes set up, like half pipe, big distance. It was like almost like an old school AFA contest scenario. And I think Ron would have enjoyed it if he was hurt. So that was the last show that we've done. It was 17.
Huh. So you think you'll bring it back?
So bringing it back would be, it'll be, bringing it back to just a road style type tour with just a quarter pipe and a box jump or a quarter pipe.
That'll be keeping it real.
It's gonna be super fun.
And another thing is, kick turn ramp art is lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys know nothing about kick turn ramps. Like, nothing, and that's with a coaster brake.
Right.
Oh,
Not necessarily.
kick turn ramps with coaster brake.
And
That's fun, yeah.
Like these guys know nothing about Diz Hicks and all the
Yeah, there's people that just shredded kick turn ramps.
yeah kick turn ramps, or like they're skinny and they're just a straight non-curved, just like a bank with a little plywood on the bottom for the transition.
Yeah,
and just going up even stalls and having a coaster brake allows you to do a lot more tricks. you can't do it with a free wheel, Brian.
That's so my story getting on Haro. Ron Wilton was another rider that rode coaster brake, and he was really good at kick turn. And I was just part of like Bob's setup, right, with a quarter pipe and a quarter in a wedge. So Ron Wilton had left Haro, but it wasn't public knowledge. He's going to BMX action, and so Ron told me. I knew Ron because I seen him down at the beach. I was a beach rider. I would just go to friends and just hang out and ride flatland like all day with my friends at the beach.
Smoke
And
cigarettes.
Ron Wilton said, "I used to smoke cigarettes back then." You're right, Ron. Thanks.
Sorry.
And
Smoke cigarettes.
Spike Jones is the one that got me to sure in the '85. So yeah, on
Took a
the
month.
10 days.
Well,
I remember that.
10 days. Remember, it's like, okay, first day you get 10
but you
cigarettes.
cheated.
I remember
It
that.
took me a long time.
I totally forgot that.
Cigarettes.
That's
You ever smoke
right.
cigarettes? Have you ever been addicted to nicotine?
No, finish your story.
Okay.
Spike made deals with you,
Yeah. It's like,
cut down your cigarettes every day.
so anyhow, Brant, this back
No,
to the-
they would we'd do a show and then they would ride off to 7-Eleven or something like that to smoke a cigarette.
yeah, we had it on the show on Factor Freestyle. Someone called me out. I said, "Oh yeah, I remember that I met you over at the 7-Eleven. You were sitting back there smoking a cigarette."
Because yeah.
Anyhow, back to getting on Haro. So Ron Wilton left to ride for BMX Action, and Bob called me up and said, "Hey, I have some shows to do, and I'd like to put you on the team." So that's when I signed. It was like November of '84, and that's when I first met Ron and Brian, and then started doing shows by the summer.
got it.
God, Dave smoking story.
Did you
Wow.
race? I never raced them.
I started racing too, so I was kind of like me and Ron were racers before we freestyled.
I was a mad racer. Racing, like, you go over the jumps and you got to speed jump them and go fast. And
Trying to go high.
I would just want to, I would only go to races just to hit the jumps. To go as high as I could and do tricks. While everyone's trying to speed jump, they get mad at me because tires are at their head. and I wouldn't care. I just wanted to go high off of jumps because back then it was before even trails. Trails didn't exist. So the only jumps you'd get, a lot of towns would have a place. Like in our town, we'd ride across town. It was maybe like a 20-minute ride, which was awesome even itself. Because on the way there'd be certain curb cuts you hit every time, and certain little things you do on the way to the jumps. And there'd be jumps behind 50. There was this. You just ride flat, and then there was a jump to flat. And always back in the day, it was always jump to flat.
Yeah.
So you do your trick. You go in the air and do your trick and get back your hands back on before you landed.
Sketch.
Yeah. and you'd always want to land back tire first so that it wouldn't feel so hard.
Right. Yeah, that's why I was stoked to be riding the pipeline when you were because I was able to learn how to land a little better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super
Yeah,
smooth.
landing back low, you don't go high, but that was something that I was blessed to have.
Right.
My 20-minute ride was to one of the best skate parks that's ever been around. I was just lucky.
And the skate parks too, like you guys had all these different transitions and things to think like we had a quarter pipe or sometimes there'd be like
Same every
a
day.
dirt bank or something like that. And like pipeline would have all different transitions and things to ride. So that would increase your skills riding and that's like kind of keeping pipeline. That's like, whoa.
That was awesome. They made it later on in, bigger ramps, bigger half pipes, 12 foot like.
Yeah, we go to Europe and they'd be like crazy ramps skaters had built or whatever, and I'd have my coaster brake right in the half pipe and a pedal between each every air.
Oh my
Yeah, and then Brian's skying
That sounds
because of his
terrifying.
pipeline background.
Pedaling between with a coaster brake sounds terrifying.
Yeah, it's gnarly. The coaster brake is just scary.
Yeah.
I was never a coaster brake guy. Let's take that back. I had a kick turn ramp with coaster brake. I did.
Well, that's the thing. Is like if new school kids, especially for street, if new school kids knew about coaster brakes, there'd be a resurgence.
Well, they do free coaster now. Like, you see it.
Yeah, but coaster brake opens up so many new things to do, like street riding,
like hitting your brake going backwards and slamming on your head.
Yeah, that's
if you grew up riding coaster brake, you can do it. You're not gonna take a new school rider, put them on coaster brake, and it's not gonna go well. You're better off just taking your brakes off completely. And,
God, how many tricks I learned going backwards, slamming up my head.
I've seen a bunch of them.
We were there.
I'm curious, because you guys have experienced so much in the years of BMX, how do you feel like the perception of BMX to like people outside of our sphere has evolved and like changed throughout the years?
Good question, because it's interesting because BMX still, and it just kind of blows me away. BMX still has like this cutting edge kind of vibe to people, and carries a lot of weight. Like you tell someone you're a BMX rider who doesn't know anything about it, but they just know it's extreme or whatever like that, and it means something. Like Cam, one of the riders for Tips, is like a big wicked apple, and and that he gets so much cred. Not he didn't tell me this, but I just know it because I know how it works. He gets so much cred from people who don't know, because knowing he's a BMX pro, like just that alone gives you it opens. I mean, BMX just opens the doors everywhere, just because it still has like a cutting edge kind of crazy vibe to it, and it's crazy that still is going on now because it's popular and so many kids are doing it, but it still has that kind of edge, which is cool.
It will never go away.
I hope not, but I don't know. The Olympics is maybe the beginning of the end.
No,
They're trying to turn it into a sport, and then it's like, I mean, it's bound to change. It's because now it's like guys are training. Who the fuck would train? Riding a BMX, you don't train. You just go ride.
You didn't realize you were training, but you were riding every day.
So right, you just go ride.
It's already happening now, though. Like in Japan, like if you look at the Japan fountain scene, they are trained.
Oh,
so
dude.
young. But I still don't think it takes away. It
It
doesn't take away though that it's like anything. It'll be a fork, and there'll be that part of BMX that will continue down that. But there's still the roots, and that goes back to being a kid on a bike riding around. Like I was in San Diego, you were in LA, you were in Northern California. That's what we did. There's still kids out there that are doing the same.
It's pretty hard to do a show these days to people that have never seen it. When we were riding back in the 80s, we were doing shows for people that have never seen it. Kids that were into it and seen magazines they knew, but the families and parents, they had never seen it. So there's a lot of people that were like, and got to see it for the first time. Now, you do a show in, 2024, and it's going to be very difficult to find anybody that's never seen or know much about BMX. I mean, BMX is everywhere.
Further, I didn't even say this before. I said before, it was before internet. It was before videos.
Yeah, there was.
Videos didn't even exist.
Yeah, videos came out
During the time when we were pros riding and being on tour, was the time when even videos started happening. Yeah. I remember, people getting VHS tapes was like a new thing. So when we started riding, it was before even video. So that would increase the energy so much more at shows because kids wouldn't even see videos of it.
There's more footage of our last 10 years of doing shows than there is 20 years prior.
For sure.
I got to go through shoe boxes full of pictures to check out some of the old shows. Yeah.
There's a lot of interesting concepts and thoughts and everything you guys were just saying. And I think there was definitely an element of excitement for seeing something that people had just never seen before. But I think also part of that is probably from how intentional and planned out you guys were with trying to make sure you were doing a good show.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, it was important to us. Who wants to? It wasn't just a job for us. We were doing this. We didn't realize where it was necessarily taking us, but we were doing it the best we could.
Yeah, and I'm so stoked that these guys were working with me to and would take it serious as me, like to make a show that was entertainment, because basically we were entertainment. That's always how I looked at it, as you're making a show, and these guys worked with me was could do shows with people who, and I've been in a long time with those guys who don't really care about that. Yeah, exactly.
They don't really want to do a show. There's jams all the time. Kids go with jams and the local pros come and that's cool. It's just different than an actual show.
Right.
And it's not a concept that people really do or know about much of anymore.
Yeah.
All the new school pros that are on teams, they don't go do summer tours. I mean, it trips me up.
Yeah.
But they'll go on they'll take a bus and go on a road fools or whatever type of hit everywhere and go jam, and that's badass too. It's all about video now.
Yeah, well, at the same time, what was that?
When I do like camp, I focus on that we're doing a show. So if they sign up for the week, the first thing I say, okay, we got a show Friday at 12 o'clock. It's going to be for your friends and family. And I put that whole emphasis on there's show time and there's practice time. And I just want to instill that into the younger rider. And they love it. I mean, we did a show here. This was the first time I did a camp in this arena. And we had just about maybe 12 parents show up. And it was a smaller camp, like 5 riders. And like they helped choreograph it. They helped come up with some ideas.
Cool.
And it's because of this guy right here that planted that seed. So 40 years later, I'm still putting that out there. And kids, these are usually like 9 to 12-year-old. It's like kind of the sweet spot. That's like where I like to really target, because they're not quite that teenager. They're not driving into the girls as much. They're just basically getting the ability to do more tricks. And they step it up. I mean, it's been great. So I really think that the show aspect.
And then the attention, I'm sure they love that.
And I put them on a mic and I have them introduce themselves. All this stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is cool, and at the same time, it feels like BMX is kind of morphed to where, like, I mean, obviously we know that everything is super specialized as far as, like park, street, flatland, whatever it is. But then there's also different elements of being a professional rider these days, where you have contest riders, video part riders, but then there's also still the show element, where there are quite a few stunt show teams that travel around the whole country. And I feel like those people you don't see as much because they're not video part or contest riders, but there's definitely a lot of people out there that are still doing shows.
Yeah, retro circuits and all those types of shows that have badass riders.
Even school shows.
Yep.
Yeah.
Robert
Castillo.
And they're shredding.
Yeah, they're what the kids get to see.
Yeah, like it shows that they're doing school just mind-blowingly rad. Like you don't even know what you're seeing. Kids.
In 6th grade, I had the dance team come to my school and do a show. And that was it. I was like, man, that's what I want to do. That was sick.
You just had a school show coming
I
out?
had dance, yeah.
Wow.
And I got to ride there. They came and rode my back through.
Oh yeah, you brought up something that I wanted to mention but forgot about. That back in the day when we started riding, you rode everything.
Right.
You rode whatever was there. Like you rode flatland, you rode ramps, you jumped, you just rode everything. And there wasn't even, the concept wasn't even there of picking one thing to ride. It was just you rode everything. And that's from the very beginning. It was like we rode everything. I mean, maybe you were at the pipeline, you were more specialized with that kind of riding, but if you don't have a pipeline parked near you.
But I still was a rider, and I had a handful of flatland tricks.
I saw you doing a tail whip.
I wasn't into it necessarily, but I do like the way that England and Europe started doing contests where flatland, picture and ramp, and quarter pipe were all part of your run.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that here in America. It was, flatland or ramp.
It's separate.
But over there, they were doing everything. So you have to do some flatland. You have to.
Yeah. I think it was like that here in the beginning. I really remember.
I don't think so.
Right.
You're more than the rest of us.
I don't know. I remember having to think about picking like a flatland trick or two.
Because you were working for the overall, Ron.
No.
You're always on for the overall.
Yeah, back then there was overall. Like Dennis McCoy, me and Dennis McCoy were competitors.
Yeah, for that overall title.
Overall.
What does that mean? What is overall?
Good question.
I mean, you're talking about it, and I'm like, what?
That's like you combine your scores from ramps and flatland.
Yeah, the two different disciplines. So
Most people are one or the other, but there was a handful of people that did both, and the overall was one of those people that did both.
That is awesome.
In the beginning, overall was like the biggest deal.
Yeah, right. Because that's how we originally started. I mean, I was like more of a street rider before I started doing flat. I only started doing flat because Mission Beach, and that's where everyone would hang out. But before I was brakeless, doing just like what you're saying, a ride to from school, hitting all the jumps and doing everything.
Brakeless.
Yeah, great.
Like you
Didn't have brakes.
didn't have money to buy brakes.
Yeah. And I didn't even run coaster race.
That's a really cool thing that, I mean, that could get brought back an overall kind of title, because you have like Kevin Peraza at X Games just won street and was in a couple of the other disciplines as well. That'd be really cool.
Yeah. There are dudes that do multiple events.
Yeah.
I always appreciate that because that's badass. I mean,
It's cool to see how flatland would morph in the street, and now they do flatland tricks on the street. It would always be so cool to see.
most street riders and park riders all can ride dirt and do ride dirt. And I've always dug that. I mean, someone kills it on dirt and or street, park or whatever it is.
And they can do a bunny hop tail.
Yeah, I mean, it's just bike riding. They have that at everything they do.
Yep.
I like how we ride everything.
Yep. I agree fully. So I'm kind of curious, you guys have ridden for so long, like what are your bikes like today compared to what they were back then? Like what are each of you guys riding today?
I'm riding a 2017 Haro Master.
He's riding exactly the same bike.
Yeah, I mean,
The
geometry is a little different, but yeah, it's very, very similar. I mean, I'm still running coaster bike and still run like pretty much the exact same bike with my quick release. So
I think Dave's better now than he ever was.
I still have a few bash.
I was watching you ride yesterday. You were dialed. I'm like, wow.
I was trying to do a trial for the team, make sure Ron wasn't going to try to, find someone to, call Dennis McCoy up. He's not doing much flat.
bikes overall are about the same length that they always were. The top tubes used to be like 16 inches,
Yeah.
but then the rear was a lot longer, so it rode somewhat similar. Now you have a top tube or whatever, and it's just the rear ends are shorter. But
What are you riding?
I'm riding I'm still riding my repopped FST.
What's your top tube?
21.
Really? Oh, I hate 21.
Well, you rode GT that was like
I rode 20.
straight, yeah.
20. The Sport was 20.
I'm also 5 inches taller than you.
That's true. Yes, that's very true.
And you're riding.
I ride the same 20-inch top tube because I analyze these things. I ride vert and I thought about it a lot. I'm like, okay, skateboards, like, of course they have different wheels. They're hard plastic wheels, but or hard rubber or whatever it is. And they can drop in and be at speed to do airs. And it's like, so I'm analyzing, I'm like, okay, the wheels are one thing, but then also they have a small wheelbase. So when you drop in, your pump is going more towards your speed. Because if you have longer wheelbase, you'd lose a little bit of that pump. And so that was me justifying my 20-inch top tube.
You don't need to justify it, Ryan.
Or analyzing, like, because I tried like a Lino, it was like 20 3/4 or something. I'm like, okay, I gotta do that. So I built one up and I started riding it. I'm like, I hate this. Maybe because I was just so used to 20, because you can really get used to anything.
Yeah.
But I switched back to 20. And
well, that might make a difference on the barge, on the water, when you had to do a 6-foot air just to be able to land and continue your run. But like any half pipe, I mean, that's why they have drop-ins now, or roll-ins, so you can get max speed and really, whatever you're comfortable with, you can continue at whatever height.
Right.
But
it's all about your roll-ins.
yeah, it's if you can pedal across the ramp and drop in and do a 6-foot air, no matter what size of the ramp, you're gonna be able to pump and go higher and higher.
Right.
But yeah, bowls and stuff like that, whatever your 20 inches, just where you're comfortable.
Yeah, but
whatever, yeah. If it makes you feel more comfortable, knowing that
bars
you got shorter geometry.
Bars kind of. It's funny being riding for so long. You see the evolution of bars.
Because they were real wide, then
They were wide, and they got crazy small,
and now they're wide again.
yeah, now they're crazy wide and big. But I always kept mine. I'm about in the middle.
Yeah.
I'm like, I remember the width of my bars is 28 or something. That's true.
Your cable would get tangled up.
So, Dave, you said Haro Master. Brian, you said Repop FST. Was that correct?
So yeah, 20. So I'm still riding my 2015 Repop to FST. So it's the same colors I rode back in the day. I rode like a neon FST. It's kind of the bike that Haro wanted me to ride to promote it. It was the freestyle street track. I guess that was what it stood for.
FST.
And it was kind of their low end bike, but
then it became your bike.
And then it kind of became my bike and the bike I rode mostly. And then so now I ride a new geometry with integrated headsets and bottom bracket, all that stuff. So it's new and better, but still looks the same.
That's awesome. So then, Ron, what bike are you riding?
Yeah, I ride two at Pork aluminum, which is funny because you're a new school guy. It was like light before light was cool. Like back in the day, I was thinking of new bikes. I'm like, we made the two at Pork in chromoly and aluminum. And I'm like, I was thinking about like, what if we made aluminum bike like real thick and beefy? It'd be light and strong. And so we made both. So some guys are hardcore and they just want chromoly. Like the Pork was like 9.5 pound frame.
I think that's
the chromoly one.
It doesn't look light. It looks like a heavier bike.
Yeah, and my aluminum one is it's a light. Like I'll have new school guys pick it up now. They'll be like, "Whoa, it's light."
Awesome.
But another thing too is like it's aluminum, so it's stiffer. And I like the analyzing.
Yeah.
Like road bikes or whatever, they analyze what frame made of, and aluminum's like known to be stiffer, and that's another thing that is good for vert, is like not losing any of your pump. On aluminum.
That makes sense.
I mean, and I ride the same frame for 8-10 years. I just get a new one just because I want a new one after 8 years.
What are you going to bomb down the hill today? We're going to go riding in about when we're done with this, and we're going to go to the top of Mount Ashland. Well, not the top of Mount Ashland, but we're going to just bomb down this just for fun.
It's probably I tell people it's one of the funnest times I've ever had on my bike.
Really?
That's saying a lot.
It's what we used to do on summer tour. We'd be driving And if we were in a mountain area or see a mountain, we would all get our bikes out, and the announcer usually
drive down. Yeah.
and follow us as we bomb down the hill. So
it's something, some kind of a tradition that we're keep going. But are you going to take your cork with just one break?
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right.
I think.
That's
I didn't
awesome.
think about that.
We got to get out there before it gets too hot. So
Yeah.
But man, it's so fun. You're flying downhill for like a half hour, just flying. It's so much fun.
That
And then the top, there's a line, and the rule is you can't pedal. So the top is it's kind of flat. So everyone's like turning your bars, trying to get going. You can't pedal. Yeah. And then you start going downhill, and you're just flying for like a half hour. It's so fun.
That sounds really cool. So
But that's right now.
to bring it back to the tour, where can people keep up to date since you don't quite have the dates announced yet? Where would people be able to find that info?
Yeah. So Back for More in 24. There's an Instagram page, and there's also a Facebook page, and we have a website right now, which is just a link for the GoFundMe, because we are doing like a grassroots kind of.
Oh yeah, that's another idea.
Yeah, the grassroots approach, because we don't have big sponsors that are paying for it, but we're working on it. We brought a guy by the name of Vinny in from MooreBMX, and he's going to help kind of really launch this, put together a whole little package, and reach out from other sponsors, maybe mostly outside of BMX, and to really fund it so that we can go out and have fun and share BMX. So that's the two places to find us: Instagram and Facebook, and then the website, which will be building up more in the next few months.
Awesome. So this is all going on 40 years after you guys got connected with Haro and started doing shows. And coincidentally, this is podcast number 40 for me.
Yeah. That's so cool, Brent. You planned that well, huh?
I didn't plan that at all. I was bummed because I was like, oh, it'd be cool if it was 43. And I was like, I'm not going to force this. Like, I'm not going to make that be a thing. And then I totally overlooked, and Dave last night was like, is the 40 on there because it's the 40th anniversary? And I'm like, no, it's because it's number 40.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Cool. Awesome.
Crazy the way that stuff works out. So, Dave, is there anything that we talked about, or you guys, or any of you, that you wanted to talk about with this that we haven't yet?
I'm good. I don't know. I feel like more to come.
Yeah, more to come.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do want to know what kind of riding you do. What do you like?
I do everything. Like, I've been helping dig at the old Ohio Dreams trails. That, if you ever heard of Ohio Dreams, that place is open again. So I helped get their dirt jumps riding, and then there's another set of trails 10 minutes from here that we're having a trail jam at. So I'll be digging there this week for our trail jam. And then I ride skate park trails, street sometimes. I do everything I can, except I'll admit I don't ride vert because it scares me.
And how about flatland? How much flatland are you doing these days?
I haven't in a while, but I did do that one flatland trick that you might have seen.
Yeah, I was just curious if I just want to make sure you got the flatland game going.
I think the last decade that I did was a month ago, maybe.
That's pretty legit if you can do a decade and ride big trails.
That's my
awesome.
favorite. I guess I should probably film a decade for a video I'm working on.
I have to relearn a decade before next year's tour.
And I just want to say thank you for having us on.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Really appreciate taking the
Absolutely.
time.
Very nice.
Brant. Awesome.
Absolutely. It was really cool to get to hear from you guys directly. It's like I said at the beginning, I'm like apologetic but unashamed that I don't know anything, because I grew up not watching videos or anything like that. I just made my own videos, and then it got me to a point where I'm here now where I get to learn about stuff like the tour and being on Haro in the 80s from the people who did it rather than anywhere else. And I think that's fun.
Yeah,
Very cool.
Good
times.
All right, man.
Yeah.
I'll see you at Cornhucket, hopefully.
Yes, and hopefully I'll see either of you guys somewhere, sometime.
At a show
At
somewhere.
a show.
You'll see him at Pornhub.
Cornhucket.
Whoa.
He does what? See you on Pornhub.
Oh my God. Corn Hucket.
Oh, there you go. That's why I asked. I didn't know if you were a Flatlander. I know you and Dave know each other and been to some stuff together. So
Yeah,
you don't Flatlanders are kind of their own breed. You don't appear to be a Flatlander to me. That's why.
Huh. Yeah, I try to promote and appreciate everything that's good and everything that's cool. And I appreciate what Dave does. So when he hit me up, I'm like, heck yeah, I want to do that.
All right.
Yeah, Flatland is another level.
Yeah, it's a whole
Holy
Flatland's
moly.
gnarly.
So
They're doing Flatland.
everybody check out what they've got going on. Follow the Back for More in 24 Instagram page. It'll all be there. There'll be a website. And thank you guys for
All out
jumping
there.
on here.
And there's a Facebook page as well, right? Back for More in 24 on Facebook as well.
There it is. Have a good day, everyone.
People,
Yeah, they do. Demographics for sure. And Radville BMX, radvillebmx.com.
There you go. Boom. We're out.